I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in Season 2, Episode 4 of the Loki series. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disney+, check that episode out, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, join in with me to break down all the craziness that was Season 2, Episode 4 of the Loki series. It's Johnny Rico!
Hi.
Hi, my brain is broken.
Yeah. That was a wild episode.
Holy shit. Look, I say this a lot, okay? It's one of my catchphrases. There's a lot in this episode that I definitely want to talk about and stuff like that, but more so especially for this episode. There are so many things, like we got reveals on top of craziness, on top of an ending that is just insane. Like, there's so much to talk about. I can't wait to get into everything. The first thing I have to point out, there's two things I have to point out at the very beginning. I love the another open that we got, and it's reminiscent of Season 1 where we had, I think it was the finale of Season 1 where we had that opening where it was going through the timeline. Yeah, but this time, because in that open in Season 1, we were hearing voices from the MCU and we were hearing voices from real life, like Earth events, like real Earth events type of thing. In this one, you could hear things, but you couldn't really make out what anything was in this.
Yeah. It was showing how, because the last one was still on the sacred timeline, right?
Right.
It was showing how everything is all branched out now. It's a lot more chaotic. It's hard to
Not
make out
only
what everything's going on.
Yeah, not only that, but I did read online that another theory to that is that we're getting a bunch of incursions because all the timelines were starting to smash into each other because of the loom and everything like that. So that's why we're hearing like this muddled mess of everything, because all of these different everything was like crashing into each other type of thing. All the different branches are starting to crash. So we're getting like everything just mishmashed together. That's why we couldn't make anything out. So I had to point that out immediately. That's awesome. The second thing is I love that we immediately get the payoff from the Miss Minutes tease at the end of the last episode. We get what the secret that, Miss Minutes was going to tell Ravonna that was going to make her pretty angry, type of thing. And spoiler alert, it did make her pretty angry. She went on a little bit of a rampage there afterwards. But we find out that, or I guess Ravonna finds out officially that everyone has had their minds wiped, even Ravonna. And not only that it was done under the orders of He Who Remains, who, Ravonna, we were led to believe that there was some sort of closeness between Ravonna and He Who Remains this whole time, but there was no interaction with them during the first season type of thing. We just know that she was kind of, in the comics, I know that they were a thing, but in the first season, it was kind of theories that they were, at least they were fond of each other type of thing. She's working under him and under the timekeepers and stuff like that. But in this, we actually get the reveal that, yes, she was on the recording. That was definitely her and He Who Remains. And we got all of this. And it was just then she helped him win, basically, and then immediately erased her brain. And everybody's. So what's crazy is, look, there's so many things that are crazy. There's so many things I can't wait to get into. I know this is just supposed to be instant reactions, but there's so much stuff to talk about. What's crazy is I still don't know if everybody got their minds wiped, how Obi still knows so much type of thing. Did Miss Minutes choose not to erase his mind? Or is he just this special figure that just it can't be, manipulated like mentally type of thing. I really want, and I've said this in the past, I really want to know more about Obi. I feel like he's way more of a significant character than what we're being led on to believe. I don't think he's just another TVA employee that just happens to be the only one working in one department type of thing. I just feel like there's something more to him. And I really hope that we get that payoff before the end of the season. We find out something, at least a tease that we find out there's something more to him. But anyway, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Rico, what were some instant reactions to episode 4?
Yeah, the tradition of the 4th episode of these MCU series, like just going hard or just continues to go, just like because this episode is just it's insane, and it's one of the best MCU television episodes I think they've done. Um, Man, there's so much to really go after, but I really like kind of like how you mentioned earlier when they talked about the recording between He Remains and Ravonna, like how they're paying off stuff that was set up in the premiere, where you're kind of like, what's going on here? When that conversation happened? So you immediately get that payoff when again Miss Minutes reveals all that information to her. And the other one, of course, is in the end at the episode when Sylvie's coming out of the elevator, of course, and she sees Loki get pruned. That's the other great little callback to the first episode as well. So I like the way they're playing with that whole time thing and how we're seeing stuff that's happening in the future, but it hasn't happened yet. But we're seeing the events that lead up to it, and it's a really fun way of just kind of playing with the format of the show. That's kind of why it's one of my favorite MCU shows they've done so far. But one of the things I really did love was that we got to see Victor Timely and Ouroboros. I have to say his whole name, Ouroboros. But seeing them kind of geek out over meeting each other, like, oh yeah, I learned everything I wrote in the TVA handbook is just what I learned from Victor Timely. Oh, genius! If he was if he had the right stuff at his time. And then of course, like he realizes that he's standing in front of Victor Timely, and then they get to kind of like you can't have one without the other, right? So like you're talking about like kind of like what that whole relationship kind of means. I think like yeah, it's with the way the episode ended, I wonder if we'll even find out ever. But yeah, it's kind of weird how like you can't have OB without Victor Timely, but you can't have Victor Timely without OB in some sense. So it's like which one came first in some sort. So yeah, kind of seeing those two interact with each other was a lot of it was a lot of fun. And also the scene where OB is showing off his model of everything, and he's really dissatisfied the fact that it's not complete yet. But but it actually looks like amazing. Really great nod to Back to the Future, of course, when Doc shows off his model of the city, of course, and it looks amazing. But he's like, "I'm sorry, I don't have it finished yet."
This is a crude model, yeah.
Yeah, and instead of the car lighting up with the lightning, it's actually Victor Timely who ends up getting blown up at the end there. But it's I love that little nod to Back to the Future, of course, which I feel like this whole show is just kind of like a nod to Back to the Future as well as like detective shows at the same time. So yeah, this episode had some pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, there are so many things about like I mean you mentioned a bunch of scenes there, but of that scene where they where Victor Timely and Obi are meeting and stuff like that, there's so much happening in that scene that is incredible. Like so there is a theory about time travel. It's called the bootstrap paradox, where like somebody goes back in time and makes something happen, and then comes back to the future where there was something there already.
Other paradox is another thing to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they don't say bootstraps paradox. Obi actually says like a snake eating its tail, which is exactly, which is even crazier because that's his name too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, well, yeah, it all goes into like what his whole meaning is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. And yeah, the other thing that I have to point out, because I thought it was just such a funny moment, is when they're looking at the model and they all kind of like look at the one person that's supposed to be in the suit and stuff, and Mobius goes, "Oh yeah, that looks just like Loki. It's definitely your turn."
Yeah.
You can't tell it looks like no one, and Sylvie just finally goes, "It doesn't look like anyone. It just looks like the suit." Like, it was just really funny.
Right, your shape too. It's my shape. It's somebody in a suit. It could be anybody.
It's wearing a helmet. It doesn't look like anyone.
Like, it was just a moment. Like every chaos is happening, and it was just a moment, like a momentary like bit of comedy that I just super appreciated in that absolute moment. Yeah, I just loved that. There was just like I said, there's so much to unpack from this episode. And, I've already started going down the rabbit holes on Reddit and stuff like that. And look, shout out to like the MCU subreddits and stuff like that. I might have taken an hour and just read a bunch of theories that went on and on and on and on. I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm just at this point, I'm not even commenting my theories. I'm just going, I just want to let everybody know here how much I appreciate reading all of it. Because this is like I always say, this is my favorite part, to theorize. And after, we got what we got in this episode and the way that it ended, which I'm going to get into next, I promise, there is nothing but theorizing to do for the next week. Because it's insanity.
Yeah, I was thinking of one as you were talking, and now I can't wait to bring it up in predictions.
Awesome. All right. Well, before we get to predictions, you want to get to some big takeaways?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm going to kick off takeaways. The only thing I immediately have to say is,
boy, that escalated quickly.
So, like I was saying, kind of in our initial bit of this video, where Ravonna finds out the secret, and she is understandably a little upset. And who does she kind of start to take out that aggression on? The Minutemen, the captured TVA,
docs
staff.
and all the people,
and she basically gives them an ultimatum: join in with me right now, and you guys you'll get a spot at the new TVA once I regain control, or something bad's gonna happen. And you know what? Fucking Brad is the only one.
Yeah, X5 is a little bitch, dude.
Yeah. I really hope he gets his comeuppance.
Oh yeah, he'll get his little life on the timeline.
I hope it's just like everything. Like he's a failed actor. Like they send him back to the timeline, but it's like an alternate where like
Jar Jar.
His movie bombs and like all of this stuff. Yeah, but anyway, so she straight up tortures / kills Docs and her team. Where minutes before that, another thing that I really appreciated is we get Hunter 15, right?
B-15.
Hunter B-15.
She's great.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm really appreciating how she's kind of got a bigger role in this season.
Yeah, she's one of the best characters of the show.
Right, and we're starting to really see her faith in the TVA, but her faith in wanting to, do what is right.
Make it better, yeah.
Right, exactly. And so I'm really, really enjoying how we're getting more and more of this character. And she even goes in and she, she's like, I don't want to be, enemies with you. We both kind of care about the same thing. We both care about the TVA and holding the TVA, but we need to do what's right, type of thing. And we even get the words from Docs that she believes her. She trusts in her integrity, type of thing, for Hunter B-15. So I really enjoyed that whole scene. I mean, obviously we didn't get any kind of payoff because moments after that, Ravonna temp pads in, and squishes everybody, which is holy shit. I can't think of a worse way to die. I really can't think of a worse.
I do like that they go out on their shields though. Like, how does it feel? No, like, we're not gonna join you. So it's like, it's good. That's pretty badass. The actress is from Game of Thrones. I'm like, that feels like a pretty Game of Thrones way to go out.
yeah, that was awesome. And look, we're gonna get into the ending, which is kind of the other thing that I have to say in my takeaways, only because I just wanted to do this. Boom! Big reveal. We basically almost had a season finale event. Like, that's what it felt like. That's why we keep saying how, like, episode 4 went so hard. Because, the chaos that happened in this episode and everything that happened, yes, that would have made for, like, a really insane episode 4. But leaving us the way they did at the end of this episode, absolutely all out insane. Like, we really don't know what's happening next. And like I said, there's so much stuff we can talk about just the ending itself and predictions leading from this ending. And I can't wait to get the payoff from this ending. But I just had to, I'm not even going to okay, fade to black is basically all I'm going to say for the ending.
Oh, say more. Go ahead.
Say more. Okay. The loom explodes. We fail.
Yeah.
Basically. And Victor Timely gets spaghettified.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
that was
Mr. Fantastic.
Yes. Also, yes, if you haven't seen this episode, why are you watching this? I said spoiler alert many times, but
Oh, yeah.
if you're watching this episode or if you're watching our recap episode and haven't had time to watch the episode, just think of Mr. Fantastic in Multiverse of Madness because that is an accurate depiction of what happened to Victor Timely.
Oh my God.
It was a dark comedic moment because you get this crescendo of music and you think everything's gonna like be good. Like you think it's gonna be like where he's like really pushing hard and trying his best to get out there and everything like that. And then
it's the A-Force team jumping out of the jet and everyone dying right away.
Immediately. So it was a super dark comedic moment because look, I didn't want Victor to go out like that. Like he is showing that he is a nice guy. Like he was
proving his point to Sylvie pretty much at that point. Like I'm here for you guys. I'm here to help out. And then
exactly, you don't know what my heart is like.
Doesn't not pay to be a good king, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's maybe that's why. Maybe that's why we don't have any kings that are like good rulers or trying to put everything together in the best way possible because they all meet gruesome fates trying to do the best for everyone else. And maybe that's something that we can lead on to the others. But there are so many theories going off on this. I want you to get to your takeaways, and then we'll talk more about the ending and what this could mean for not only the rest of this season of Loki, but for the rest of the MCU. Because there is so many implications moving forward that this could all be for. But before we get to that, Rico, what were some of your takeaways from episode 4?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I did want to say something about the end first. Last season we had the episode 4 ending where they found the timekeepers and we found out they're robots, and then all of a sudden, the very end of the episode, Loki gets pruned, right? But at least we had the satisfaction of getting that little post-credit scene that showed where Loki went at the end of that, and it's like, okay, now we'll get to see him hang out with a few other Lokis, and like that's something we can look forward to. This one is like fade to black. Wait a few seconds. You're like, okay, what are you going to show me next? And then I went to the credits. And then, okay, it's like, okay, maybe something's going to happen after the credits. And then nothing happened. You're like, what the fuck?
It was a really long pause.
They really, really messed with you there. And like I love them and I hate them at the same time for it. But yeah, that was just fantastic. One of the, I haven't been like jaw on the floor like at the end of an episode for something Marvel in a long time. I can't remember the last time I had that same reaction, honestly. Maybe Loki season 1. But okay, some of the stuff I loved in this episode was there's a moment in this episode I really do love is when Victor and OB are doing some work or whatever, and Mobius is like, okay, let's go get some pie. I want to get some pie. Like he's just been feeding for some pie. And Sylvie just kind of gives him a look, and she's like, what the hell is wrong with you? like, do you understand like the scope of what's happening here? And you just want to go eat some fucking pie. And it's like, she kind of goes in on him a little bit. And she's like, you just kind of been putting off that you're a variant and you just decide like, oh, it's just another bad day at the office. And I really did kind of like that. She kind of kicked him back into gear a little bit with that, even though they still do end up going to get pie later on. But I do think that she kind of like puts a little bit of perspective and like how big the mission is to him. And I just kind of like that interaction between those two characters, because I just remember from last season when he was just like, you're my favorite. And now she's like giving him shit all the time. So that was really cool. And then also this minute's final message before OB finally shuts her down was,
you'll never be him.
Was both interesting and also creepy at the same time. Obviously, I'm not sure if like what she was gonna say before that final little glitch was what she was like that Miss Minutes was gonna say. It seemed like two different versions of her, almost like a Jekyll and Hyde, right? Because she was like normal design, both eyes, and then all of a sudden she kind of glitches out, comes back with one eye, and her voice is a little bit different. She's like, "You'll never be him," and it's just like, okay, that's a little bit creepy. Kind of adds to her creepy factor a little bit. And then you and I were talking a little bit before when Ravonna is squishing in all of the Docs and her crew. She's like in the back, like, yeah. I love this. Let's keep doing it. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, she's just a little psycho murder AI, and I love it, but I'm also terrified of it. But yeah, those are kind of my two fun little takeaways from this episode.
Yeah, I cannot. Like, I'm gonna have nightmares of Miss Minutes. Like in the first season, like she was just like, like pops around every once in a while, and then you get that creepy jump scare when Loki and Sylvie finally end up like at the like He Who Remains like place.
Mhm.
You get that one creepy jump scare, but from the moment,
Oh yeah,
you remember that in the first
yeah.
season.
Well, she just pops up. Yeah,
Yeah. But like from the moment she's back in this season, you can tell that things are amiss with like she's a little bit corrupted. She's a little bit, you
yeah. Her
know,
devotion to He Who Remains is kind of like kicked up another level in this season, where
right.
it's just like she's kind of playing undercover the whole first season, but now that we've seen like her, once we see her in the mansion, like it's just kind of like, okay, now my plans are revealed here. I'm doing everything for him.
Right, right. And it's just like, and especially just like you said, the two moments that you mentioned just amps her creepiness up to like 11. Like, also, I'm wondering, I know they shut down everything to get her offline, but isn't like as everything just boots back up, isn't she booting back up also? Like, it wasn't like they stopped her program; they just shut everything down so that she would go offline.
Yeah,
So like,
I'm not sure because yeah, we didn't get to see a kind of a follow up to that, but it's gonna be interesting how that if
right.
she just like kind of acts like she's just rebooted and she just acts like normal AI, or if she goes back into kind of like her rogue status.
Yeah, yeah. There's. I mean, on the back burner, I'm always going to be thinking like, where's Miss Minutes for like the next couple of episodes? Just because, like, it was no like, oh, if we shut this down, her program's gone for forever or anything like that. It's just we're turning the system off to just get her offline type of thing
Mhm.
for a little while. So, I mean, and then we had the ending, which everybody might be offline now. Anyway, do you want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome! Why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay. So at one point during the end of the episode, I can't remember who does it now for some reason, but Ravonna gets pruned. And she's off and she's got not in the TV anymore.
It was Brad, but with Sylvie
That's right.
mind controlling.
That's right, Brad.
Yeah.
That's right. Freaking Brad.
Motherfucking
Dude.
Brad.
Yeah, Brad's making enemies on both sides. It's not gonna be fun for Brad. But obviously we know what happens to pruned people, objects. They go to the void, and obviously the void is not gone. It's still there. People still getting pruned are still being sent there, I would imagine. So of course Ravonna's got to be going back to the void, and I imagine we're going to see her interacting with Eliath, which is I will be interested to see is what Eliath is like since being enchanted by Sylvie and opening up that gateway to the mansion, and just kind of seeing what the creature's been doing to the void since then. But yeah, so I'm excited to see that again. That the whole area in Eliath. But I have an interesting OB theory that I was thinking about when we were talking earlier. If you remember in season 1 when we went to the void, there was a tower that was like the Avengers Tower, and it said Kang, Qeng. And everyone in the TVA is a variant to some degree, right? And what if OB is actually a Kang variant, and he is actually the CEO of Kang Industries that had that whole building? And not knowing what happens to our main cast after this, like we don't know what happened, like the whole loom blowing up, what happens to them? Was that just a giant timeline prune and everything is going to the void in some form or another? Like we don't know what's going to end up happening there. But I wonder if Ravonna going to the void and somehow should end up in that Kang Industries kind of building, and we'll kind of find out something more about OB in that sense. But we were talking about the snake eating its own tail, right? So what if that's the whole reason OB and Victor were so closely knit together, is because OB is really just another Kang variant, just one that we didn't think of yet.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, I can't disagree with that at all, because like I'm saying, it still lends to kind of my thoughts that overall I think OB is someone or something more than we're being led to believe. Whether he is, we get a reveal that he is a Kang variant, or he is just like, I mean, he could even be a watcher and just not know it. Like maybe he got his mind wiped, but he's really a watcher. Like I just feel like he is some kind of being that is not just a variant like everybody else at the TVA type of thing. Like something else is there for him. So yeah. I mean, the sky's the limit on the theory. Like I have nothing against that theory.
Yeah, and the more I look into it too, like the character goes by like it says Mr. I think I want to say it's Mr. Griffin, Gryphon, but it could be like Gryphon, whatever it is, because all sciencey and stuff. But it is like an Asian look drawn character, so I'm thinking like, okay, this actually kind of plays out a little bit more, and it'd be a fun little. You don't get an actor like Ki Kwan and not have him be some kind of like big character. I feel like, especially him after him winning an Oscar, right?
Right.
So him revealing to be like an alternate version of Nathaniel Richards, or if they haven't really said the name Nathaniel Richards outright yet when referring to Kang, but I feel like that would be a good way to kind of like introduce that part of it.
Yeah. And so, like I was saying at the beginning, there's so much that from here on, basically, that, I can't wait for this week to just fall down rabbit holes constantly until we get, episode 5. But like, I mean, the first thing I had to think, like, as soon as we got, and by the way, that scene where we're on Loki's face and we're about to see the loom explode type of thing, that was such a dramatic scene. Like, picture perfect, like super dramatic, like super picturesque, like scene, because you could see the terror and emotion in his face, like incredible.
And shout out to Natalie Hull, who's been doing the music in the show from since season 1 too. But her ability to kind of just set the mood for each month, like these big epic moments have amazing scores behind them too. And so she's just been killing it on this show since the first season. So big shout out to her.
Absolutely. And so I had a couple of thoughts, and I mean, this isn't even exactly what I wrote down, but as you were talking about your takeaways, I actually had another thought. So I know we were getting all, like, everybody at the TVA that's kind of like, I guess, on the good side, where they didn't want any of the branches to be pruned or anything like that. I understand that, but knowing what we know now about things being pruned just gets sent to the void. Are those people still alive, but in the void? Like, I know Eliath was destroying things and people and stuff like that. But if, by what you were saying, because I didn't think of that, this is why I didn't put this down as a prediction or theory before. If Eliath is still kind of enchanted, like say it didn't wear off, or say it actually created a change in Eliath in general, aren't there going to be a ton of people in that void of the branch timelines?
Maybe that could also be what sets Elias off too, is that there's a lot of new things for him to consume.
But what's crazy to think about, and this is some of the stuff that I was kind of falling down the rabbit hole, like I said, and reading about today. Like, literally, I took an hour and was just like, I didn't even try to. I just logged on to Reddit and started reading stuff. The TVA takes place out of time, like outside of time. Like we're looking at it as like these events are all the same, day.
Linear.
Yeah. But they're not. And that's why, like, we did see some stuff happening in the first episode that now we're getting payoffs for.
Yeah. Through Loki's time slipping. Yeah.
Right. So like, but that's not to say that the entirety of the Loki series is, like, we don't know where that's happening either. So what if what we just got at the end of episode 4, what if that really is what kicks off like Battle World or something like that? Because we don't know, because this is all happening outside of time. They could literally have that event be like the snap from Thanos. Like we don't have no fixed time. Like, obviously we have the snap from Thanos as a fixed time. We have, the time heist as a fixed time point on the sacred timeline. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these were all fixed, but everything that's happening in the TVA is happening outside of time. So we don't know. We may not get a payoff from episode 4 until 3 years from now, type of thing, when we get Kang Dynasty and Battle World or Secret Wars or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we could go to episode 5 and it could just be like all of these characters maybe not being at the TVA, but waking up on their own timelines all of a sudden. Because to even more show how confused time is, type of thing, we could have. Because didn't we have like a scene in one of the trailers or something? I could be absolutely wrong. Maybe I'm making this up. Where Mobius was back on a timeline type of thing. Where he was, So
selling jet skis, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. So what if episode 5 is all of our main characters back on their respective timelines?
That could happen.
Or on timelines in general. And then like maybe Loki and Sylvie know, or maybe just Loki knows, or maybe OB know. Like, someone obviously knows, and has to kind of, figure out where everybody is type of thing. But we have no temp pads. They're all taken off because TVA is all offline. Everything's fucked there type of thing. So like, I'm really interested to see if we don't get the payoff from this ending type of thing until later in the main MCU timeline type of thing. Like this could happen years from now. The other thing I was thinking about was the Council of Kangs that we got at the end of Quantumania, stuff like that. We don't know when that's happening either, because that's also kind of, outside of time. Like we don't know. Like there's just so many different events that we're thinking of in terms of, oh, it happened that already type of thing. But that might have not happened yet. You know what I mean? Like it's like super screwed with my head of like when things could be potentially be happening. And yeah, it's really interesting to think about. And it's really interesting to kind of like see how they pay off, I guess.
Yeah.
Type of thing. I think ultimately, I know there was a prediction that I made, and I believe I made it either after the opening or after episode 2, where I said, I do think that at some point, Loki is going to have to lead or gather together / lead a group of multi-dimensional Avengers type of thing.
Multiversal.
Yeah, multiversal.
Like what if?
Yes. But I think it's going to be Loki. I don't think it's going to be a Watcher. I think it's going to be Loki. I think it's going to be funny because I think he's going, like, in every universe, Loki, is kind of the villain type of thing. So at first, I don't think anyone's going to believe him. And I think he's going to have to somehow persuade them that, no, this is legit. Like, we need to band together and do this type of thing. And the more we see Loki kind of taking that role at the TVA and doing stuff like that, I feel like that's going to be an ultimately bigger payoff where this Loki is destined to have a glorious purpose. And that glorious purpose is really to, save the multiverse through leading a group of people type of thing versus, what the other, I want to enslave everyone. I want to take over. I want to rule. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the first Avengers type of thing, like that kind of attitude. I think it's going to be the exact opposite. And we're going to have this full circle moment where Loki is the one that had to band together all of these people. It always had to be him type of thing. And that is, he ultimately does have this purpose type of thing. I could just see that as a payoff. I as an overarching prediction. I just see it as like something bigger here now.
Yeah, for sure. I was also thinking, assuming we're going back to the Void, that also gives us a chance to see Kid Loki and Alligator Loki again.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to be. Well, they're not. They're obviously definitely not going to be in the tower because Ravonna and Miss Minutes were just in the tower. But I gotta think
they're hanging out in Kang Industries.
Yeah, I gotta think they have another base somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I do hope that maybe I don't know. Half of me hopes that they all wake up in the Void.
Throg.
Oh, we definitely have to get Throg. I have Throg around here. Yeah. Anyway, half of me hopes that they all just wake up in the Void, and that's what happened when the loom broke. It just sucked them all they all basically got instantly pruned, and they're all in the Void. Half of me hopes that. The other half of me hopes, like I said, what if they all just wake up on different branches of different timelines, on like maybe they're legit timelines, and they don't, and most of them don't remember what's going on, type of thing, and kind of Loki has to like shake them out of that fake reality / real reality, I guess. Yeah, because I think that would be really cool too. But
I agree. As
of right now, everything's up for theories. The sky's the limit. And as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 4? And even more importantly, where do we go from here? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.